Hi there. Thank you for joining to dive into the second recommendation that I would like to provide my current employer, Optiv Security. If you haven't visited the prior presentation, I cover the first recommendation that I would like to provide to Optiv, which covers their segmentation strategy and how that could be reevaluated to categorize our customers based on what industry they're in. And for that goal, I define the target market as their executives and board members for the client organizations. So we have all seen headlines in the news today with companies, including household names, being compromised and individuals' privacy being put at risk. With current events such as the coronavirus pandemic and the war in Ukraine, companies are and will be shifting more of their attention and resources to ramping up their cybersecurity programs. This is becoming increasingly important for all businesses to ensure that their data is protected and that their processes can continue in the case of any events. However, one thing we often hear from our customers is the challenge of communicating the importance of the state of their cyber programs today to the board of directors and executives. Getting security buy-in and budget from the board of directors is necessary for security teams to implement the proper tools and resources, in addition to hiring the appropriate talent, which has been a constant struggle in the cybersecurity industry. So I think that this is a critical opportunity for Optiv to take advantage of, to show up and help our clients and help them resolve this gap internally so that they can become more efficient with their processes and be aligned in what their goals are for their businesses. By reaching the key decision makers for these organizations, the teams can make the case that the company's risks really need to be prioritized as a company-wide initiative. As employees are working remotely in different places around the world since the pandemic, the hybrid workforce isn't going anywhere, and companies need to be able to control all of the privacy and data regulations that are going on within their own companies. So a study that Optiv conducted found that 50% of boards are confident that their company is properly secured against cyber attacks. So while 50% is higher than I expected it to be, it's not a majority. And I guarantee that the number has declined since business disruptions have taken place as a result of the pandemic and many of the other events going on in the world today. So building upon that, for my next recommendation, I want to dig into Optiv's promotional strategy. So Optiv has an amazing marketing organization. In addition to the world-class events that they put on in the industry, there's unparalleled thought leadership content that is put out in newsletters, campaigns, and social media. But I would also recommend that Optiv launches a podcast to further access the target market of board members and executives. But the complexity of reaching this target market comes down to the challenge of time. So it's important to recognize that many of these high-level business individuals are tapped out in terms of time management. Most board members are still facilitating their own full-time jobs, in addition to advising a whole other organization on how to operate. And sometimes these members sit on more than one board at the same time. So the objective of a podcast would be to promote Optiv's brands to individuals that not only have time to potentially listen to a podcast more so than they would have time to go to experience any of the existing promotional strategies that Optiv already has in the market, which includes virtual webinars and a presence at industry events. So the podcast will be measurable in terms of audience ratings and the number of listeners. And the best part is that Optiv already has this amazing content that exists. We post it constantly on social media platforms, especially LinkedIn, as well as the powerful presentations that are geared up and ready to go for events. So by transitioning the delivery to podcasts, we can tap into the market that may be too busy to read a newsletter or attend a webinar, but they can tune in on their phone to listen to someone talk during their lunch break, or they can plug in on their drive to work, or they can even listen during their next business flight. So the podcast will cover timely content and feature subject matter experts that are truly connected to customer demands and reliable solutions. In order to stay consistent, the podcast would be featuring a new episode each week However, to manage time constraints, we could rotate episodes between verticals. We could feature clients that may be willing to share their stories and even host live Q&As on air, which would bring so much value to our clients, not only in asking them to participate to build brand loyalty, but further spreading different perspectives and more information to the rest of our client base. So the benefit of a podcast will ultimately be to boost the Optive brand. This will reach the target market of board members and executives. And hopefully, as those key decision makers are informed, they're able to spread the word to their peers and colleagues to further inform other organizations of really all that this company does. This will further promote the power of Optive's position in the industry because it can be funded by opportunities with a variety of our partners. Our partners can sponsor the podcast, and they would also have the opportunity to advertise their own brands and tools that are available in the cybersecurity industry. So in closing, an Optive podcast will provide an opportunity to share real-time content. It'll build brand loyalty. And through mobile access and a new approach, we can capture the attention of key decision makers. I think the recommendations covered for a vertically based segmentation strategy, in addition to launching a podcast, will position Optive to better meet our clients while boosting awareness for the brand. Thank you so much for your time.